Hey folks, and welcome to CarStarz' 10 lovely facts about Jim's 63 VW Bug Herbie in the 1969 Disney movie, The Love Bug. Fact number 1. Although the exact numbers regarding how many VW Beetles were used to portray Herbie are a topic of debate, my research indicates that there were 11 different Herbie cars built for this film, composed of a hodgepodge of different mixed and matched parts of 1957 through 1967 Volkswagen Beetles to portray Herbie throughout the film. Although the car is intended to look like and is generally regarded as a 1963 model, despite multiple model years actually being used in the movie. You may have seen several other sources across the web stating that around 20 or so Herbie cars were built for this first movie, but that number is a bit misleading and often misunderstood. That's because even though there were around 20 VW Beetles acquired by Disney involved with the film, that number is including the several multi-year junkyard Beetles that they sourced for parts to keep the primary Herbie cars going, due to parts such as fenders, bumpers, and doors were constantly being damaged and or modified throughout production. Some may wonder why so many VW Bugs had to be used to portray just one vehicle in a single film. Well, unlike most other movies of the era that would have just simply used scale models to perform stunts as wacky as needed for this movie, the vast majority of the stunt work for Herbie in this film were indeed done with multiple purpose-built modified full-size stunt cars, as crazy as it sounds, which we'll get into some details of a bit later on. Another common point of curiosity about the car that many have is where did the name Herbie actually come from, and why is it numbered as 53? Funny enough, the car was essentially indirectly named by the actor Buddy Hackett, whose character named the car in the film too. Based on an amusing skit that producer Bill Walsh saw Buddy perform once at the Sahara Hotel in Las Vegas, which the name Herbie was a comical part of, Bill, remembering that performance fondly, selected that name to be used for the car. As for Herbie's racing number of 53, it was also chosen by producer Bill Walsh, who was a fan of the Los Angeles Dodgers baseball player Don Drysdale, as that was Don's number at the time, so that's where the number came from. Fact number 2. The majority of the Herbie cars were powered by their stock flat 4-cylinder engines, outputting around only 40 gross horsepower to a 4-speed manual transmission. Even being a small light car, the stock engine was quite sluggish to say the least, with even getting up to 60 miles per hour being quite a chore. However, since Herbie needed to be portrayed as a fast race car in some scenes that could not only take off and stop quickly, but actually be on a racetrack alongside some real race cars of the time, at least one of the VW Beetles was actually fitted with a modified Porsche 356 Super 90 engine built by EMPI Racing, which reportedly had more than double the power of the stock Beetle engine, allowing Herbie to hit a top speed of around 115 miles per hour. Of course, when you double the power in such a car, you also have to make other modifications to accommodate it, so the racing versions of Herbie also had Porsche fin drum brakes, Porsche wheels, weight reduction, wider, more grippy racing tires, Coney shocks all around, uprated front anti-roll bar, an EMPI rear camber compensator, and an internal 4-point roll bar. All Herbies in the film also had the VW badges removed from the hood, with any other VW badging removed as well, due to the Volkswagen company having no involvement with the film. Fact number 3. The VW Beetle, officially known as the Volkswagen Type 1 initially, emerged from the vision of Ferdinand Porsche and his team in the early 1930s. Their goal was to create an affordable, mass-produced vehicle, the people's car, or Volkswagen in German, to serve Germany's new road network, the Reichsautobahn. Although often attributed to Ferdinand, the fundamental design concept was actually conceived by Bella Baregni in 1925. The Volkswagen Type 1's production was delayed due to World War II, but it eventually rolled off the assembly line. Initially simply entitled as the VW Type 1, it officially became the Beetle in 1968. Over its remarkable 65-year lifespan, 1938 through 2003, more than 21.5 million Beetles were produced, making it the most prolific car of a single platform. Its rear-engine, rear-wheel drive configuration, air-cooled flat-4 engine, and timeless design contributed to its enduring appeal. By 1947, VW was exporting Beetles worldwide, and German production totaled around 15.8 million units. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, the Beetle became a cultural phenomenon, embraced by counterculture movements and symbolizing the free-spirited 60s. Its legacy endures as a testament to automotive history and innovation. Fact number 4. Another common point of misinformation out there is regarding what method was used to portray Herbie driving himself. Contrary to some sources you may have seen, the car was not remotely electronically controlled in this particular film anyway. To create the illusion of Herbie driving autonomously, a stunt driver was hidden inside the specially rigged car, operating it from the back seat area. As you can see here, a number of modifications were made to the interior to allow the car to be controlled from a low-down rear-seated driver. This method, known as the blind driver technique, later became a commonly used stunt driving practice when hiding a driver was called for in later Hollywood films and TV shows down the line. Keen-eyed viewers may have spotted the evidence of this method being used in the film during this scene here, where the top of the back-seated stunt driver's head can just barely be seen, a very small amount here from the front and again from the back. Fact number 5. Now, let's talk about Herbie's stunts, as this is another topic that often has incorrect and misconstrued information out there. The wheelies and pond-skipping scenes were achieved through a combination of practical visual effects and basic cable rigging setups, as you can see here in these behind-the-scenes pictures of the cable rigging system built for skimming across the pond. These specially rigged setups allowed a significantly lightened, mostly gutted-out version of Herbie to be able to be pulled up and down while still moving forward across the pond, making the car move in a skipping across the water-like movement. It should also be noted that for both safety purposes and even further weight reduction, there were no real people in the car for the pond stunt, as they just used these dummies instead. Similarly, the beginning of the wheelie scenes when the front of the car raised up high, as well as when Herbie was falling out of the tree, were also achieved with similar practical cable rig setups in lightweight Herbies. Then they transitioned to the fast racing Herbie right after. Quite possibly the most dangerous stunt in the film was the Herbie rigged up for the three-wheeled driving scene. This scene involved a Herbie modified with a hydraulic post with a wheel that could be lowered down for balancing. However, the car was quite unstable and risky to drive at the speeds they needed, with real stuntmen dangling from it on the edge of an actual cliff at speed, just as depicted in the movie. This particular scene is often referred to as the infamous missing number 53 error scene, due to the fact that they forgot to put the number 53 racing number on the door of this particular stunt car, which can be plainly seen by viewers as an obvious consistency error in the scene. The ending of the final race in the film was also done practically with full-scale Herbie Beetles that were actually cut in half, with each half of the car being drivable with their own engine and steering wheels. These three-wheeled cars were extremely unstable to drive, however, and flipped over multiple times, even with the legendary stunt driver Kerry Lofton driving when attempting to hit the speeds that they wanted for the scene. Fact number 6. The comical sounds that Herbie makes in the movie were originally created by sound effects supervisor Jimmy McDonald. He came up with the sounds for Herbie's signature whimsical beeping horn and even the squirting oil sound. Also, his so-called long crash tire skid sound effect from the tortoise and the hare was used for Herbie's tire skids when he was sliding around corners in a comical cartoon-like manner. As for the engine sounds we hear coming from Herbie in the film, some were indeed recorded from the VW Beetles used to portray Herbie, but the film's sound designers also creatively blended the real engine sounds with exaggerated studio-created sound effects to emphasize Herbie's childlike, bubbly personality. Fact number 7. So, did any of the original Herbie cars survive the movie, and do any still exist today, you ask? Well, although most of the original Disney movie Herbie cars built have since been lost in time over the 55 years since The Love Bug was made, and of course a few were destroyed in the making of the film itself, impressively, there are at least a few survivors out there that we know of that still exist today. Some sources state there may be as many as 3 to 5 of the original Herbie cars still in existence today. However, I was only able to find proof of 2 at present in my searches. If anyone has proof of others that are still left out there from the original film besides these 2, feel free to discuss it in the comments below. One of the surviving cars, and quite an unlikely one at that, was the stunt car that was ran off of the road late in the film and also hurtled down the rocky mountainside. This car is known as the number 10 car from the first Herbie film and was then used once again as the number 11 car in the following Herbie movie entitled Herbie Rides Again. Although the car was pretty trashed and non-running after its involvement in the films, it was partially restored just enough to be drivable again later on and still is today, surprisingly. The other surviving car that I was able to find information on was the hopped-up racing Herbie car, also known as car number 2, and it is still in excellent condition today and retains all the custom aforementioned modifications made by EMPI Racing as well. This was also a fairly unlikely survivor considering all of the aggressive driving it performed in the film and the risks involved in doing so repetitively for a movie production such as this. Fact number 8. And for any of those who think old Herbie may have lost its appeal in recent years, check out which car was the most expensive VW Beetle ever sold at auction to date. Yep, it was indeed a Herbie movie car. This particular Herbie was one that was used in the 4th installment of the series, which was the Herbie Goes Bananas movie, and was one of the Herbie cars that were rigged up to be driven from the rear seat, also known as the number 6 car for that film. Although it is indeed one of the authentic cars from the 1980 movie, it has had a number of aftermarket changes since, but that certainly didn't stop it from selling for a beyond premium price at auction. Believe it or not, this unrestored, dried-out former movie star of a car that spent many years just hanging from the ceiling at the Planet Hollywood Casino in Las Vegas sold at Heritage Auctions in 2022 for a record-shattering $212,500. Fact number 9. As you might expect, based on the fact that The Love Bug was the second highest grossing film of 1969, many fans have created their own Herbie replica cars over the years, so there's a good chance you've probably seen one around before. One notable well-done Herbie replica example would be this gem here, residing in New Jersey, and it looks like it has a lot of attention to detail put into it for sure. Here's another quite accurate, excellent Herbie replication residing in a collection all the way over in South Africa. Yep, Herbie was a worldwide phenomenon for sure, with replicas all over the globe, folks. Fact number 10. Much as with the full-size replicas, there are even more options when it comes to the scale model world, as the public's love for this movie car has led to many manufacturers over the years producing several different scales of both die-cast and plastic model kits. Probably the finest example in the die-cast space would be this exquisitely detailed and very accurate 1/18th scale Hot Wheels Elite model. Although this is certainly the highest detail die-cast model I have seen of Herbie, unfortunately it is not on the retail market any longer, and they typically sell for more than $250 on eBay. One decent die-cast alternative, however, is this other 1/18th scale model from a brand called Solido. Sure, it may not be as detailed or quite as accurate as the previously mentioned premium Hot Wheels Elite model, however this one is on the current retail market and can be had for around the $60 mark. As for the plastic model kit scene, unfortunately all the direct Herbie replica kits are now vintage and are no longer on the current market. However, the best classic VW Beetle kit out there currently that you could use as a base to customize into a Herbie replica model would be this 1/24th scale model kit here from Revell that can be had for around $35. I will put links to the 2 currently available models mentioned in the description below for those interested. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet, I also have my own diecast car channel named Show and Tell Diecast that I display and detail my diecast models that I add videos to also. I will include a link to the diecast channel in the video description below for those interested. Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks for watching, and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like what you saw here. You guys are all great. See you next time.